there world, I'm the Courageous Goldfish, and today I've got another $1,000 figure haul for you, if you can believe it. A couple weeks ago I posted another $1,000 figure haul that was going through like the first half of what I've been waiting to show on the channel, and today we're gonna get into the second half here. Mostly the same disclaimers apply. This is cumulative over like the 4 months or six months since my last haul. Not counting the one from a couple weeks ago. My last haul was like January or something. So this is like probably a solid half the year of collecting, which I realize is a little bit insane when you look at it all together. But I promise I'm not going broke yet. I know last week we had some bangers, okay? Strawberry Miku, an absolute showstopper, completing my Sailor Moon set, unboxing my first loot figure. But today, I can sit here and confidently look you in the eye and say that every single figure we're unboxing today is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I've been getting super lucky recently with pre-owned, and so I was able to pick up something that I've had my eye on for a really great deal. I had 2 pre-orders come in that were some of my most anticipated for the year. As well, I also picked up my very first fishnet bunny as a little treat for myself for passing my 3-month probation at my new job. We got a lot to discuss today, so settle in, cuddle up, and let's just get into it. Of course, as always, we gotta start with the trinkets, and I do have a couple of extra little things I picked up during my trip to Vancouver. I've never been an enamel pin collector, but now that I have a cork board in my office, I had that push that I needed to fall all the way down that rabbit hole. First up, we have this absolutely adorable party duck pin by IVC Draws. I think he's just so goofy and cute. He was simply so charming, I couldn't leave him behind. I also, of course, had to pick up this Sebastian pin by Chicken Rice Bowl. I've fallen back into my Black Butler obsession because of the new season, if you could argue I ever even left, so it was very apropos that I should stumble across him on my trip. Possibly my favorite pin I have so far though has to be this super cute Kaya pin by Puffy Fish. I absolutely adore this pin. I love the little flowers, and of course I had to snag one of my mains. He's simply adorable, and I don't actually have any Kaya merch yet because my boyfriend hates him. In addition, I've become quite the scrunchy girl in the past year or so, and I really fell in love with this awesome one from Pac West Kimono. It's made out of recycled kimono fabric, and I was just infatuated the moment I laid eyes on it. It's a darker color palette than I usually gravitate towards, but the colors are so vibrant and beautiful, and I really liked the pattern with the florals and the dragons. I will say, it does fall into the unfortunate trap of being too loose when wrapped twice, but it doesn't wrap a third time, so it's practically speaking more of a bracelet to me, but it's still gorgeous nonetheless, and I'm obsessed. Speaking of obsessed, that is literally the perfect word to describe how I feel about this next figure. I fell so hard for this one the very first moment I saw the artwork. I followed it through the sculpt and paint stages, waited for it patiently for pre-order, and then had to wait the entire long of the time that it took to actually get to me. And today, we are finally unboxing the 1/6 scale Hana Pet Girlfriend by Good Smile Company. This is my second November Ami card. That's how you know I have a problem. Please excuse my voice today. I am stuffed up 10 ways from Sunday because of the snow mold up in Canada. I don't know, do you guys have this in other places? In Canada, when it starts to get warm and the ground starts to thaw, there's this thing called snow mold, and a lot of people are super freaking allergic to it, me being one of them. So please excuse that. But I am super freaking excited to open this one. She's honestly been the pre-order that I've been most excited about for like a year. So I'm really excited to open her up today. I have seen some in-hand photos already because I did ship her Surface. So she took like almost 2 months to get here. But they're looking pretty good. I think that they did change her expression a little bit, and I'm not sure that I like that. But we'll open her up, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure I'll be happy to have her in any case, but let's just get into it. Perhaps we should do a little bit of a... Maybe I should be an actual YouTuber and like try to make this somewhat aesthetic. Whoa! You probably can't really see that supremely. Is she cute? Tell me if she's cute. You think she's cute? No notes on the box specifically, just trying to say words that make sense.
Claritin's a hell of a fucking drug, kids. We do have instructions in the bottom as well. This will probably be a mystery mouse tool that'll help us later. Am I gonna remember that when I'm struggling? Probably not. Let's get going, cutting the blister. I don't know why I always feel the need to sing when I'm doing things. Oh, there we go. Oh my God. That was aggressive for no reason. Oh yeah! Okay. Very, very cool. She's got a lot of plastic, which I always appreciate. She's got a weird little like neck thing going on as well. I believe you can take her head off. Potentially, hopefully. Oh, yep, there we go. Okay, we're good. I was actually curious to see how they were gonna do this part specifically. So she does come armless, and that's because the leash part in her hand is actually stuck there. So it's molded that way, which honestly I prefer. I think it's a smoother look, and also you don't have to worry about like positioning it exactly correctly. And then it's got like this chain part here. I was hoping that this would be metal, and I'm not disappointed. And then we've got, you probably can't see, but this little ring thing that's gonna attach into her choker. So honestly, fairly straightforward assembly. Oh, this collar thing's gonna be a pain in the butt. Yeah, this was a good pickup. I was concerned. I was like, I just feel like I'm, you know, like I don't know if I necessarily need this for my collection. I think I just like it because it doesn't really fit in with what I'm trying to collect or like other figures that I have. But I don't know, there's just something about it. I really like it. They have somewhat changed her face though. I will say that. You cannot really see that supremely well, but she does have more of a downturn to her mouth in person than she did in the promotional photos. This figure's face has had a lot of different iterations. It's been tweaked a lot of different times, and honestly, I preferred the upturned smile. But it doesn't completely detract. Like, she's still a gorgeous figure.
Firstly, her hair is one of the most standout things about this figure, aside from, the obvious. The sculpt isn't the craziest ever, but it still goes above what I would consider standard, and the shading gets the job done in an understated way. The flow of the curls frames her face absolutely beautifully. The paint and sculpting details on her bodysuit give it this very transcendent visual texture that really draws the eye, and I struggle to find a single wobble or bleed, so that is definitely a win. I'm sighing a huge sigh of relief that they used actual chain here. The drape is authentic in a way that would suggest it's heavy metal, and I'm sure it's much more delicate than they ever could have done it in PVC. The real fishnets are a massively successful addition to the visual impact of this figure for sure, especially since she's based on a cosplayer. That realism element is completely fine by me. Now, certainly freeing and binding have the chokehold on clean fishnets, so while they do seem a bit messier than what I'm used to seeing, it's not bad for good smile, and you don't really see them from the back anyway. I do have some little bones to pick though. Although I don't regret picking her up at all, I do have some concerns. On the minor end, I do wish they had put a little more love into the tail. It gets the job done, but I would have liked to see a bit more of a realistic fur texture. I'm also super certain that they did change up the expression a little bit, and while she's still super cute, I do feel like a bit of it was lost from the original. My main issue though is definitely that she has a very inescapable wobble. Her ankle is super thin compared to the rest of the figure, and the way she's posed doesn't support the weight enough for me to be entirely comfortable. This room shares a wall with the laundry room, so sometimes the walls shake when the dryer's on, and you can see her wobble quite noticeably more than the others, if they do at all. Obviously, I would not have appreciated having a support rod on this figure though, so I'm not too sure what I wish they would have done instead. Overall, I think she's really gorgeous, and while she's pretty skippable for most, I do think she is nice, and if she appeals to you, she's a great figure to add to the collection. Now, I have not been any stranger to a good aftermarket standoff, especially recently, and this figure was one I've had my eye on basically since it went up for pre-order. Because it was being made by a new company and I was waiting on some other prototypes of this line before deciding to jump in, I tried to play the field a little bit to see how low I could go. I just so happened to be getting really lucky with Mandarake recently, and so I was able to pick her up unopened for 11,000 yen! Oh my god! Shipped and everything to me, she was like 130 Canadian. I made out like a bandit. I'm so excited! This is, of course, the absolutely stunning 1/6 scale Cheerleader Ya by Hobby Sakura. Listen, I tend to buy figures when I know I really like them, and not to say I didn't like this one, but I did have a bit of a lower expectation. Hobby Sakura being a newer company, I just didn't have as high of a bar, and a 1/6 that retailed for 14K was just a dream that could never totally be true. So while I did buy her for the cheerleader novelty, and I knew I was gonna like her because of that, I was surprisingly very impressed by this showing. She's really cute, and I feel like I say this for every figure, but she is far more impressive in person than in promotional photos. I love how they've shaded her. The style feels very grounded and down to earth in a simple but realistic way. I think if I had to pick a standout detail, it would probably be her hair sculpt, because I was quite shocked to see the level of detail and movement in it. While she does have darker hair, there is also a slight whisper of gray in just the right spots to add the subtle shine that adds so much depth, and the individual strands do a lot of the heavy lifting, creating a very lived-in and wild vibe. Her face is super cute, very bang on in my opinion, and she's definitely got my favorite blushing out of any of my figures. She literally looks like she's flushed from practice, which is a feeling I can heavily relate to. There's something about the joy of cheering that's very well represented here in my opinion, and nothing makes me happier than to see true palms on a cheer figure. While she looks simple on the surface, that's definitely part of her charm, and when you look closer is when you fall in love with the little things. Her sneakers are very well done, and I think my favorite is that if you look closely, she's got a hair tie on her wrist. On the negative side, she's definitely a very specifically angled girly. She can look a bit goofy when viewing her from other sides, but that's really where it starts and ends with my criticisms on this one. All in all, she checks off all the boxes for me, and I have a very warm and fuzzy feeling of nostalgia when I look at her. I do already have Riku pre-ordered as well. She's my favorite of the bunch, so I'm super excited to get her in. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't seriously side-eyeing Misaki as well. Maybe if I can get her for a deal like this. Maybe. Now, as I said, I've been getting really blessed with some banger pickups recently, but this next one is one that is just very close to my heart. I actually wished for this figure specifically in one of my old Figures I Wish Existed videos, and I knew as soon as I saw her announced that it was a complete no-brainer I'd be picking her up. It's one of those ones where you know that no matter what, you're gonna love her, but my expectations were honestly so blown out of the water, I could not be happier with how she turned out. That, of course, would be the Kotobukiya Hikari with Nato. Kotobukiya, my love, you astound me every time. Now, from the moment they announced this, I knew no matter what I would have it in my collection, so the bar was basically on the floor for me. Pokemon Platinum was my childhood game, and the memories I have of playing with this character are some of my fondest, so the nostalgia factor gave me these rose-colored glasses for sure. However, every single Kotobukiya figure I've ever personally unboxed has truly been a treat, and this figure is no different. It's really hard to go wrong for 11,000 yen, but this figure far exceeded my expectations. I cannot express how absolutely squeaky clean she is. Her paint is seriously so sharp and zeroed in. They gave her just the right amount of shading, especially on her coat and scarf, and I'm just obsessed with her shiny little buttons. They add so much depth to this figure in such a simple yet elevated way. I would seriously go to bat for her as the best executed in this entire Pokemon line. Her expression is very faithfully captured, and the detailing in the Pokewatch and all the little zips and such on her bag really shows the effort that they put into this one. Of course, can't forget about Turtwig, and while I was always a hard Piplup stan, they did my boy so right. It's literally like he jumped straight out of the game. He's sculpted proportionally perfect and has the exact same caliber of paintwork as the rest of the figure. While this was absolutely a well-duh purchase for me, I was really happy to see a figure I was already super excited about go above and beyond to exceed my expectation. I would thoroughly recommend not skipping out on this one. They truly ate and left no crumbs. Like, zero. I wanted to end off this video on a bang, so I saved the biggest and possibly most impressive for last. Some of you may know I've had quite a chaotic year where my career is concerned, and it just so happened I was needing a reason to justify picking this one up right around the time of my 3-month probation at my new job. This, of course, would be Freeing's stunning Anubis bunny. See, I was slightly concerned about this because somebody left me a comment in one of my recent videos that they were having problems with the legs on this bunny and that they were a little too close together as compared to the base, which unfortunately I am finding to be true, very much so. I don't know, maybe I should take a picture of this. You can see her foot here and the peg all the freaking way over there. So this is super fun. This feels actually awful. I am legitimately using so much force to stretch her leg right now, guys. This is not okay. Freeing, why? Oh, okay. I don't like this. Here we are. She's freaking gorgeous though. Look at that. Oof, yes. Anubis, baby, what can I say about you other than you're absolutely gorgeous? This figure hits all the right sweet spots in terms of quality, and while she isn't strictly flawless, she also doesn't fall into the predictable freeing traps. Her hair is honestly pretty nice, both in sculpt and shading, especially when compared to other showings from this company. I love the metallic gold of her bunny suit. It plays off really nicely with her other accessories, and this being my first fishnet bunny experience, I do have to say, she feels quite luxurious. My favorite parts of this bunny have to be the small little details. I'm completely obsessed with her jewelry. As a ring girly myself, I can't get over how gorgeous her hands are, especially with that killer blue manicure. Oh my goodness, she is just, oh, she eats, she kills it. Her headpiece is fantastic. I don't know if I just live under a rock, but I did not notice at first. It's actually sculpted with this very subtle Anubis face. I also really appreciate the time that was put into the shading on her body. She looks positively buttery, and I've never seen a freeing figure with this level of attention to detail, at least in that department. For as stunning as she really is, there are of course a few drawbacks. In terms of minor nitpicks, I do seem to have some light scratching on her left wrist cuff, as well as a small section on the strap of her shoe where it looks like they just missed it with the gold paint. Primarily, my gripe was how freaking difficult it was to get her on this base. The amount of force needed was actually criminal, though I'm sure being displayed, she'll settle over time and I will not have to repeat the process when I move. Fingers crossed. It takes a lot to get me off the couch for a bunny girl, especially considering they are the ultimate space eaters, but this was a rare situation in which I really wanted to check this one out. All in all, I knew I would love her, but she is undeniably fantastic. Would highly recommend picking her up if you're on the fence, and I say that as a backseat bunny enjoyer. This bunny was actually my first fishnet. My other two are bare legs, so she was a milestone in and of herself, but she is absolutely fantastic. That about does it for me today, friends, and that catches us up with what I've been able to pick up in 2024 so far. Again, if you were curious, please go check out part 1 of this video. It's a super fun time. I actually already have my May pre-orders on the way, and again, I've been getting super lucky with Mandarake recently, so I've got a couple of pre-owned grails coming my way as well, so you'll be seeing another one of these sooner rather than later. Of course, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.